Hello, this is Gideon Emery, a.k.a. Balthier from Final Fantasy XII, telling you you're listening to the Raw Dogs podcast. And from this leading man, may you be the leading man in your own lives. Tune in, enjoy, farewell.
So I spent like probably 2.5 hours this morning. I got everything hooked up. I redid my entire entertainment center.
Yeah.
And so that involves, 2 HDMI switches, a receiver, organizing power cords and USB charging things and VR setups and running one HDMI cable that goes around everything to my computer through a splitter.
Jesus.
It was a fucking project. And then so I got one HDMI splitter from Amazon. It was hooked up. It worked for 5 minutes, and then it just smelled like an electrical fire. And it quit.
Yeah.
So then I had to go to Best Buy to get one.
Just hot. Best Buy was open, huh?
Yeah, I did 2 curbside pickups the other day, and that's where I'm actually getting the game we're talking about today. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
This is the Raw Dogs. Dylan, what's your name? Your real name?
It's Dylan.
No.
Oh, Big Tex.
Big Tex.
In the before time, I was Dylan, but now I'm Big Tex. And it encapsulates my newfound energy of doing what I want whenever I want.
Do you remember when you first started calling yourself Big Tex? Because I don't.
I did it at a bar for fun, and it kind of stuck with me. I said, that's ridiculous. I neither look like a Big Tex, nor do I deserve to be a Big Tex.
Yeah.
So it felt kind of like too big for my britches, and I thought that was very funny. I like when things don't fit. Square peg, round hole type shit. Mm-hmm. And I really found...
Like Nanaki and Eris trying to mate.
Yes.
That's what you referred to them as when I was just editing the other day.
Exactly. Yes. quite like that. It felt like an interspecies romance.
Amen, brother. And I'm Brad.
Papa
B, as they like to call me.
Yeah.
This is episode 3. It's a Patreon exclusive.
Yes.
Unless you're listening to this months after it was released. And if so, you could have gotten this a lot earlier if you decided to back us on Patreon for a couple of measly bucks.
Could have had this while you were side questing.
Yeah, while you were endgame content on the remake, which as of the recording date comes out, technically 2 days, maybe tomorrow, maybe a week ago if you live in Australia. Good day, mate. I got you, Ketchy.
Good
day, mate. My plan is to pick it up at Best Buy. I hear that they might actually release it the 9th of April, tomorrow. They might let people pick it up tomorrow, is a rumor I heard. But all right, so we have 2 main topics for this episode. Would you like to continue the main playthrough?
Let's do the story.
We'll do the story first. Okay, so we were just leaving with the death of our tragic hero, Ketchy.
Yeah.
Yep. The huge spoiler that everyone...
Yeah.
That's when everyone talked about crying for the first time playing video games.
I cried.
Crying in Scottish.
What a freaking hero.
I mean, imagine having your fuck doll Moogie, and here you are, an animatronic cat, and you're sacrificing both of those bodies that can be replaced immediately.
Now, to be fair, Cloud and the others, they don't mourn him at all.
They're like, okay, bye.
It's like, And then he's like, finally, I'm the hero.
I could do it. I'm from Scotland. I am a kitty cat.
Oh, gosh.
They're like, fine, dude, whatever.
Clan MacLeod.
Clyde, I'll do it, Clyde.
Oh, Cloud, I had one line.
So then the Temple of Ancients shrinks.
Cloud was the black materia.
Cloud is holding the black materia. Is he so weak that Sephiroth just tricks him into giving it to him, or does Sephiroth use the Genova cells to actually manipulate him and force him to do it?
It's partially that. So when Sephiroth got pushed into the life stream, essentially, stabbed and then dropped into the life stream, his consciousness like started to permeate it as well because he was powerful and he had Genova cells in him. And Cloud, in the 4 years up until the beginning of the game, he was being pumped full of those Genova cells, and he, for all intents and purposes, shouldn't have survived it. That's kind of his theme. Like, he wasn't a powerful soldier.
Yeah.
He survived just out of luck.
Yeah, I don't know, really. I mean, he wasn't a soldier. I mean, Zach was able to deal with...
He was soldier, like, 4th class.
But you have to be 1st class in order to be getting the
Genova cells, yeah.
Cloud wasn't even soldier 4th class. He was a regular soldier. He's just like a regular army guy.
Infantryman, but they're technically called soldier. Right?
The reason Zach was able to survive the treatment from Hojo so much is because he had prior exposure to Mako energy. Cloud was fucked up. And a lot of people like to, I think, make fun of the fact that Cloud does have a tenuous grasp on what's really going on. But to me, it makes sense.
It's a lot of psychological trauma. And
you have an alien creature that can mimic and recreate things living inside of you that is actively manipulating your memories. If there's anyone that could manufacture a false psyche, I think that is someone with Genova cells and Lifestream that was in a coma for multiple years. I guess this is when Cloud's fractured persona really...
That weird laugh he does looking at the murals. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, dude, are you okay? And he's like, I don't know.
Really?
It should have seemed obvious to everyone at that point.
Because Cloud's psyche has been suffering and having an effect on him subtly until this point. But this is when it starts really affecting the story.
Yeah.
Because Cloud gets the black materia, which Sephiroth wants to use to summon Meteor and cause it wounding the planet to activate the life stream to become a god, and he just hands it over to Sephiroth.
Yeah. Well, this would be at the Northern Crater.
Well, I mean, this is still at the Temple of the Ancients. He hands the black materia over, and they get it back later. No, they reclaim the black materia in the Northern Crater from Genova. They do reclaim it. So,
right. Okay.
I guess you could say
It's
he
a
just
little
lost
convoluted.
his dear friend Mugi and Ketchi, and he's in a weak state of mind, and he hands over the black materia. And, this is kind of odd, because then all of a sudden he, blacks out, and you wake up in a house, a random building, with Tifa and Barrett saying, yo, dude, you've been asleep for a while. Eris is gone.
Oh, yeah.
And my first thought was, okay, has Eris been hiding a canoe?
How did she get
Did
there?
she call Sung of the Turks to give her a helicopter ride? Because that wouldn't have flown either. I don't know. No pun intended.
Maybe she caught it. Maybe there are some villages you don't actually see, like hint in the world. I mean, if it's such a big world, like it's a planet-sized planet, there had to have been like some weird offset fishing village that doesn't have an item shop that you never see, right? If these worlds were literally just the towns you could visit, that's a big ass boring world with not a lot to do and a ton of monsters.
I'm excited for them to do some new villages and stuff with the remake, but Cloud does have a dream, a vision of her going north. She's like, stay home, stay where you're at. This is fine. I got this.
Yeah.
I can pray.
Yeah.
I have the power of prayer.
She does have the power of prayer.
You know what's something that's kind of interesting is anytime there's a cutscene, there's actually a physical Cloud model that can run around not in those 3D
Almost
CG
like
things.
astral projection, yeah.
There's a skip when you have to storm Midgar later, where I think it's the sequence where you're parachuting in. If you're holding a certain direction, it'll just automatically skip to the Hojo fight. Skips all of the rest of it.
Really?
Yeah, because there's an active Cloud model. So that even the sequence where Eris is, in the forest talking to you, there's a Cloud model you can control and move around.
Okay.
Weird stuff. But you go up north, you go through the Bone Village, which is, you're excavating stuff, which is a mini game I didn't understand or care for too much back in the day.
You get some good stuff.
Anything you miss, you can re-get there.
Don't you get the Kujata?
If you missed it, you can.
Yeah. I got that one early.
And that's where you get the key to get back into Midgar officially.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But yeah, this is, again, these mini games. This is just another way that I just don't think it holds up. I'm glad this is being remade because I'm anxious to see what they can actually do with a lot of this stuff now.
I know that they added a dart mini game into Seventh Heaven. That looks fine.
I did see that. It looks like a dart mini game. I mean, as long as it controls fine, because even in 10, I found that there are a few too many weird side things you have to do.
Man, Blitzball.
A fan.
No, it's not great. Once you know how to break the system, it's fine. The City of the Ancients, the Forgotten Capital. I like the design.
With all those like conch shells, those nautiluses, and the weird winding pathways.
I found it quite confusing.
It's hard to navigate.
It's kind of obtuse. You can take a nap in one of the random buildings.
Yeah.
Until you do that, you don't get passage to go down.
Yep.
I was running around everywhere and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, there's one where you have to go up to go down, and it's a little strange. You have to press that select button at certain times.
Yeah.
There's no other way because like so much stuff you would miss, and some of those materia are placed very obscurely. Sometimes they'll be like hidden behind a bed, but if you face the bed, it'll keep asking you if you want to, lay on it. And it's just like, okay, well, that was a choice you made. Some people might have skipped right over it,
I love once it is unlocked, there's that little lake where, later on Kadash will bring the children. Mm-hmm. Behind that lake, though, when you actually take that ladder that goes way down underneath the city,
yeah,
and there's like an almost like castle underneath there.
Right.
It's fun to imagine how did that actually function for the ancients?
Right.
Because it was just way down that ladder. Something happens down there, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, you go and you confront Eris.
Cloud goes by himself.
Which, after the whole fiasco, why would you still you should just be saying, "Hey, Cloud, maybe you should sit this one out."
Yeah, you gave our villain the one weapon he needed. Maybe you should just. I'll go up there, you spiky head bitch.
And it's funny. Well, this is the scene that everyone talks about.
Sephiroth actually tries to make Cloud do it first.
Yeah. And he can't, and everyone's like, dude.
He's about to, and then everyone yells at him, and he stops.
Mm-hmm.
Our hero, Sephiroth, comes down and...
stabs her through the back. No Phoenix Downs allowed.
No Phoenix Downs allowed. I remember it looking very cool back in the day. It looks a little wonky now.
It still looks fine.
It's satisfactory. It's fine.
Yeah, it still feels like you're playing with, like, Roblox or Legos. But it looks cool. I think it still looks pretty cool. It's impactful. The cinematography is still fantastic. It's brutal, like that he's like, I'll just do it from the upper back down into like the abdomen. Like that's like, is that why it was an auto death? Like, yeah. And so she passes away, but not before you face the Genova death.
I think it's Genova Birth. No, Genova Life, maybe. It's the mid one. Genova Death's the last one. I don't know. I like during that.
Yes, it is. It sends water attacks at you, and if you have the right equipment equipped, you just completely don't take any damage from it. That's what I remember.
Sorry, Genova.
It's like,
I'm in a
or
bubble.
I absorb it.
You just healed me, you big dumb alien.
Big dumb alien. One of the few times I think the localization got it was what Cloud says right afterwards, like, now she doesn't get a choice to be anything. Like, it kind of mimics the themes of what Cloud is going through. She didn't get to be this. She didn't get to be that. You took it all away. And then the fight begins, and it's still playing Eris's theme.
What about my friends? What about my family?
Yep. Very impactful. After the fight, Cloud brings her to the deepest fucking lake I've ever seen in my life.
Where he's also able to stand in.
I feel like there's a ledge within it.
Sure. And then, of course, everyone knows Cetra, their bodies they sink because they're witches. And she sinks right to the bottom.
I never thought about it that way.
Yep.
But I feel like that, maybe, well, if that's like a direct connection to the live stream.
Maybe it's calling her back. It's just
maybe
pulling
it just
her
pulls
in.
her in. That makes complete sense to me. But then, like, when like Kadaj or any of the other people die, they go twinkle, twinkle up into the sky.
Yeah, almost like being called back in Final Fantasy X, which is the same universe, going like the far plane almost.
Yeah.
It's a shame that she does die here because the very next place you go to is, the Icicle Inn.
Where you learn her history.
Where her dad was working, and you can actually see footage of her dad and mom. That would have been bizarre for you to see her reactions to that. You get to see her dad. You learn that he was the one who discovered Genova, and he thought Genova was an ancient.
Yeah. And if Falna's like, no, not really.
Want to go on a date?
It's kind of weird. A lot of the female relationships with men, when you consider like Lucrezia and Hojo and everyone's relationships are a little fucking weird in this.
Yeah.
They're
Tifa's in love with this person she used to know that's...
and Cloud used to like her, but then this babe rolls along. Yeah. Ooh la la. And suddenly he's got, catchy. Moogie. Ooh la la. Strap a bra on that.
Catchy, can you leave me and Moogie alone for a while? Thanks.
If you could only go on a date with him and Cold Saucer.
Moogie doesn't talk at all, just looks confused.
Just Moogie, no Kate Shade.
Yeah. And it's just you riding on his shoulders, like so happy.
Yeah, and you go there, and then one of the dumbest mini games.
Well, before that, I think it's cool that Professor Gast funds a scientist named Bugenhagen. He's one of the people that funds Bugenhagen's research. He's captured, blah, blah, blah. But you find out that you need to go into the Northern Crater. But in order to do that, everyone's got to go on a snowboarding trip.
And then in a painfully, woefully confusing...
the Great Glacier.
Snow area.
God. Yeah, it's obtuse. There's a map that doesn't work or correlate really to what you're doing.
It technically does.
Kind of.
It technically does. Once you get the layout in your head, there are some crazy missable things here, though.
Yeah.
The Alexander materia being one of them.
Yeah, you have to do some weird stuff. You actually have to touch the hot springs.
Yep.
And then do this because you only have a certain amount of time.
And you have to face some enemy that's I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty easy to kill.
It's a woman spirit.
Yeah.
It just looks like almost a naked lady that you have to fight.
What's the backstory in that? Like I really couldn't follow.
Mount Holtzoff, the guy who has that house that's further up there, his buddy 20 years prior got lost. And I think the story was his buddy was lured in by one of those female beasts.
Oh, kind of like a succubus.
Because I think their body is actually in there where you find the materia.
It's hard to tell with those graphics.
Yeah, the guy Cliff's... Sometimes RPGs have just really bizarre, unmanageable, weird dungeons that don't make sense. This was one as a kid that I remember just being very confused at, even when I had a strategy guide.
Yeah, the strategy guide doesn't help. There was actually a FAQ I used to get Alexander because I was just like, I'm not going to spend my time wandering around here, especially when you can faint, and then you end up back at Holtzoff's cabin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what... Is it a set amount of time, or is it kind of random?
It's a set amount of time. I forget how long it is, but you can only... I mean, even when I knew specifically where to go and how long it would take,
right?
I passed out once.
I passed out maybe twice, mostly because I wanted to get out of there. It is a good place to train, though.
We actually do, shortly after this, run into Sephiroth for the very first time.
Yes.
Up in the Northern Crater.
Sephiroth. Well, not after climbing the entire thing. Another bad minigame, I might add. The one where you have to shake yourself to get your body heat back up. And then they do it in Celsius so that you just are more confused.
I'm excited for the remake when they all just get to wear badass coats.
That'll be interesting.
Just wear a coat, maybe.
Unless they choose not to.
I don't need a coat. It's 20 degrees. I'm from Wisconsin, okay?
Well,
I'll be fine.
Do you think they'll let Cloud run up the side of the glacier like Sora in Kingdom Hearts 3? Let's just skip that whole thing. Yeah. I do like the internal part of that dungeon with the falling icicles.
Yeah.
I think that's actually kind of like, it looks really weird, and I think it was actually pretty well designed. It wasn't too confusing. A lot of different levels. Then there's that weird like area where you get out and you're moving around the cliffside. That was a little strange, but overall, I liked that.
Yeah.
But then you get to the Northern Crater.
It feels like one long, big dungeon. From the moment Eris dies, you have a little brief icicle in, but you are just going on this probably 2 hour long.
2 hours is about right.
You run into Sephiroth, talking all crazy. Shinra shows up, and then you wind up having to fight Genova.
Well, yeah, and I think another thing that's really cool about this is the lead into the Northern Crater with the weird howling live stream winds paired with the snow. Mm-hmm. You just start seeing all these Sephiroth clones, I imagine. We're talking about the hooded guys.
Yeah, all those hooded
figures. They're all collapsing, and they start showing Cloud from the side, and then it shows him running down the mountainside into the crater. I was very surprised at how cool that actually looked.
I'm sure the first time back in the day, this would have seemed to many people... This would be the penultimate battle. It seems like you're just getting closer and closer to the end.
But then there's another disc.
Good point. Yeah. Well, there's another disc, though.
So is this the end of the second disc?
What
Wow,
happened
there
to-
wasn't much here.
Who's controlling Ketchi? That's all I want to know. Who's controlling Ketchi?
God.
God. Turns out it was God the whole time.
Maybe.
The live stream manifested Ketchi as a weapon.
That's
The
pretty cool.
eighth weapon, Ketchi.
The black weapon.
The black weapon. You get the black materia back from Genova, and you get to choose a party member to give it to, no matter who you give it to.
It's either Red or it's either Red 13 or Barrett.
I think it could be maybe another person, too. I'm not sure. I think,
because Tifa has too much to do.
I think you could give it to Sid.
Oh, well, I always give it to Red because I'm always in the back of my head going like, he seems like more spiritually aware.
Yeah, but he's also a cat. So I could just see him wanting to like knock it into the northern crater just for fun.
Yeah, maybe.
Cloud starts hallucinating. Hojo shows up. Everyone's trying to tell Cloud what he is, and no one's saying the right thing to him.
He's like, shut up.
You're just a puppet. You're a failed experiment. You're a clone of Sephiroth.
Shut up, please.
I'm not. No.
Don't do it, Cloud. Yeah, fool, don't do it, Cloud.
Cloud.
Come on, Cloud.
You spocky-headed
Can't
cunt.
you hear the planet crying?
Get help.
Get help. It's so good.
I've had enough of you, Barrett. I'm giving him the material.
Had enough. Stick it in your arm socket.
I was surprised on the replay. I forgot that his body actually gets like sucked upwards.
He's upside down.
He's upside down and walks over to Sephiroth.
Then he inserts the black materia.
That's some crazy power. If Sephiroth or Genova is able to just suck a body up like that.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, like gravity spells are like demi, right?
Sure.
I mean, that'd be pretty easy.
I'm excited to see what that looks like in 10 years.
In 10 years, that's it's pretty cool. Really great angle, and then it shows the infamous scene where it gets absorbed through, and then there's a giant earthquake.
Cloud falls in. Thankfully, though, the good guys, Shinra, are there saying, "Come with us, rest of Cloud's friends. We'll be good to you. We'll get you out of here.
Then we'll arrest you."
I do love the sequence after Meteor is summoned. The weapons crawling out of the crater.
Yes.
Badass. The weapons are such a great concept. The live stream that has their own way of, we need more souls. The planet's damaged. We're just going to send weapons to kill as many things as we can to bring balance to the live stream.
No, that wasn't their goal. It was to defend the planet.
That's what the weapons are called out for, though. Even like with Dirge of Cerberus, Omega Weapon is only called when the planet is so weak that Omega Weapon's job is to kill everybody to get all the live stream together to shoot it into outer space.
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, the weapons are there to bring balance back to the light stream.
If you want to count Dirge of Cerberus, yes.
Oh, well, of course, there's Jade Weapon and Before Crisis. Moving on.
To me, the canons are only truly Ruby and Emerald.
And Sapphire.
Sapphire's good too.
Ultimate
Weapon, yeah. Okay.
I
didn't face those. I faced Ruby this time, and I was able to do it.
Ruby, Diamond, Sapphire, Ultimate. There's another one. Because there's the one that gets killed outside of Junon that goes right in, like that.
Wasn't that Sapphire?
There's the one underwater, that's Emerald. Mm-hmm. Ruby is the one in the desert. Mm-hmm. Ultimate's the one that flies around.
Oh, yeah. I don't recall. I feel like a bad fan.
A lot of weapons.
Yes.
So, like, the next part of the game, where's Cloud?
It's Where's Cloud, and it really shifts your view to Tifa, which is really cool.
Yeah, she's actually the person you get to control.
And basically, she's like, "Oh my God, where is Cloud? Oh, hey Barrett, how's it going?" And Barrett's like, "Do you know what's going on?" She's like, "No." And then he just opens up the shades of a window, and it's just this really great shot of Meteor in the sky. And it looks like it's about to hit, but I guess it still has to take its time. I don't know. But it's pretty cool. It's ominous.
This is a fun sequence, too, where they're trapped in Junon.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Tifa's tied up, has to get out of a gas chamber.
Yeah, Scarlet tries to straight up like Nazi.
Yeah, exterminator on TV. Ketchi shows up. Everyone knows Ketchi's the main hero of this game.
Yeah.
Saves the party. And also Yuffie's there pretending to be a reporter.
I do recall, yeah.
They escape. There's an epic slap fight between Tifa and Scarlet.
Yeah, it feels very personal. Like, beating her up would have been one thing, but a slap between women feels a little bit more.
What if in the remake, Scarlet slaps her and Tifa punches her in the face and like pile drives her into the edge of the cannon?
That might actually be what it is. 'Cause I don't imagine, or there might be one like mini fight where she easily bests her.
Yeah, I want to see Tifa just destroy her.
Like dolphin kicker.
Dolphin blower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see her dolphin blower.
Oh, yeah, me too, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Scarlett's going to be hot.
Dude, so hot. Scarlett's model. I'm shipping Vincent and Scarlett. I think they should hook up, dude.
I'm shipping Heidegger and Rufus.
Dude, nice.
Bears, man.
Dude, Hojo and Moogie.
Hojo and Moogie. That actually would make sense.
That makes sense.
He seems like a pervert, but he got the babe Lucrezia, so who knows?
There was something else going on. There was some science that's not normal.
Science.
At this point, you're not sure where to go.
Yeah.
The high wind can now take you to a few spots you haven't been, but if you go to pretty much any different location, someone would say, there's a really cool spot called Medeal with a doctor.
Yeah.
Sometimes a live stream comes right up there.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a cool, subtle way of nudging people towards a certain location.
If you had been exploring the map in any given way, though, it would have been a little bit obvious because there aren't that many locations left for you to actually explore. Mm-hmm. Playing this again, I did realize, I thought this world was so big and I thought there was so much to do. Turns out, it's not as big as I remember at all.
I mean, yeah, at this point, after you go to Medeal, which is next, you've pretty much seen everything outside of where chocobos can get you to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they find Cloud very fucked up from Mako poison. This dude just took a trip through the life stream to the other side of the planet.
He's like a vegetable or someone who just got a lobotomy.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen like when lobotomies went really wrong, it basically turned people into half vegetable, kind of like they would move around like compulsively, but they wouldn't. I found it really disturbing.
Kind of what Jeffrey Dahmer was going for.
I know a lot about Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, we live in Milwaukee. If you're listening to this, come to Milwaukee. We'll drink beers and go on the Dahmer tour.
I'll take you on my version of the Dahmer tour.
But he just has some severe Mako poisoning, and Tifa
chooses to stick
how
with him.
Badass is she? And he's still like, I don't know if I like Erasahumo. I don't know. And Tifa, regardless, says, I'm staying here. You guys can figure it out.
It's one of the few things that made her that's still alive. They talk a lot in the extended universe about how much they want to treat each other as family because they have literally nobody else left besides the weird little group of...
And then they look over and Barrett's waving a gun arm at him. They're like, yeah, we got nobody.
Like, they do include Barrett, but I mean,
that's their new family.
But they're the closest ones who have the most history with each other.
Yeah.
They remind each other of a version of home. And it makes sense that she would stick around to take care of him.
I do hope that Tifa's martial arts master Zangen, because he's not dead.
Yeah, they never explain that.
He gets, there's the letter when you get her final, either her limit break or her, I think it's her limit break from the piano.
Yeah.
There's a long letter that he leaves
never read
her
that one.
saying he went to Midgar or this or that. I don't think it says that he died or anything. And he's trained maybe 100 different people is the canon in the game. So I hope that you get to run into him or he's a new side quest or something. That'd be fun.
That would be rad.
I'm super pumped Tifa decides to stay because Sid Highwind runs like an idiot.
Like his chest like facing the sky. Like.
He's just constantly looking up. Always looking at, he's looking up into outer space that whole time.
It really makes it almost like a comedy because if you get rid of Tifa, then like the main party members end up being like Red 13, Barrett, and him. Those would be your most popular, right? Even if you didn't get like Yuffie or Vincent, Kate Sith, because nobody really was liking Kate Sith, from what I understand.
I don't think anyone really enjoyed the way he played.
No.
And Vincent and Yuffie are optional. Some people ship Yuffie, but whatever. Vincent is a sad boy that is going to be cooler in the remake, but he had not a lot going on there.
And so it was kind of a Three Stooges thing. That's how I saw it.
Oh, man. So then their new mission, Ketchi lets them know they have to find the huge materia. Mm-hmm. The first one is the runaway train. Three Stooges. Yeah, Barrett, Sid, and you could even have like Ketchi, Yuffie, or Nanaki, or Vincent.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of lovable weirdos at that point.
Very lovable.
I always like to bring Barrett and Sid with me when I had options because I just liked their vulgar commentary and whatever was happening.
They're both older guys, like
yeah. And Nanaki, I just like to imagine him on a runaway train as a tiger.
I kind of like to imagine him as like the quiet guy in the corner, just being like, "Why am I even here?"
Can you guys not swear for a little while?
I miss Tifa and Cloud.
But I don't want to be on the airship with Yuffie and Ketchi, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and this part was pretty charming. A little like globe-trotting adventure with just a couple of your party members.
I appreciate the similarity to Final Fantasy 1 or Final Fantasy 9, where instead of the 4 fiends, it's the 4 materia. You're on a mission to go capture these 4 things instead of fighting the 4 different monsters.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate as a cool end of the game type mission. Shinra's trying to grab the giant materia. They're going to shoot it into outer space to try and blow up the meteor. Doesn't sound like a bad plan.
It's not the worst.
No. Compared to what everyone else has got, I'm almost with Shinra. We should help them get that if we can. I don't know if it would do anything.
Yeah.
But seems like a decent plan, all things considered.
Well, they're putting their faith in what Eris did, I guess. They're hoping that they gained enough magic that they can help support it, and hopefully it will keep Meteor from falling. I mean, Shinra using it as a weapon, it kind of indicates that they truly have no other options left, and they have no other thoughts besides like, well, if the planet doesn't exist, we can't rule over it.
Well, but blow up the meteor before it lands there. This is the plot of Armageddon.
Oh, yeah. So Sid's Bruce Willis.
And Barrett's also Bruce Willis.
In another time, he would have made a good Sid.
Nanaki is Steve Buscemi. Michael Clark Duncan is Ketchi. Not Barrett.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yep, that's what we're going with.
Fair enough.
And
produced by Michael Bay.
We'll go with Vincent is Liv Tyler, I guess. I don't know.
That's all right. Yeah.
You luckily do stop this runaway train in North Coral. Yeah, I guess if they didn't stop the train, it would have just ran into the village to destroy it. So luckily they stopped the train.
Yes.
They get the big materia. Next is Fort Condor.
Must we?
Grown. But of course, set it to full speed, put one guy on the map, and just let the bad guys get to the top. And then you just have one boss battle to fight instead of a dumb mini game.
Yes.
Do that. Boom, you get the Phoenix materia. Done. Another huge materia. Mm-hmm. At this point, Medeal is attacked by Ultimate Weapon. Mm-hmm. Tifa and Cloud both fall into the life stream. And this is the reason why Tifa can do the flip-de-doos that she does in Advent Children, because she has Mako poisoning now.
That is true.
Possibly, anyways.
Without the eyes, but...
I think anyone who can do the flip-de-doos must at some point have gotten some live stream exposure. Yeah. If they want to explain it in universe, but... Well,
and also even in the remake demo we played, like, Cloud could do some rad jumps.
Yeah, even Jessie's like, I am wet.
Yeah, she... For a while.
How amazing is it that this game came out late 90s, and there's a whole sequence where Tifa is exploring Cloud's fractured subconscious, trying to help him bring it together, exploring mental illness and discovering what holds people back. I don't know. It seems so bizarre.
Well, and this is where she really finds out that Cloud was there as... Cloud was there. She was unsure why Cloud had all those memories, but this is where it's confirmed to her that Cloud actually was there and visited his mother and like just didn't want to feel embarrassed, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, and it's weird because even until this time, I'm not sure I even knew what was going on.
Up to this point, the first time, no. Yeah, this does fully describe what happens to Cloud. He is able to pull himself together, assume control again, and say, I know what happened. I know who I am. We're going to do this now.
Yeah. He's like, sorry, guys.
At no point does he become an emo sad boy.
No.
Nope. That's after the game is done. After he's become a hero and saved the day and saved everyone, he decides he's sad later.
Sad again.
I guess he has time to be sad.
Yeah. I mean, his character arc went through. I can understand it. The world technically does end in a certain way, but I'm still sad, though. He's living a good life. I don't know.
Dude, you live with Tifa in a bar. Just go easy on yourself.
Which becomes an orphanage.
You have some cool kids. You have a motorcycle. You have a cell phone. Like, things are okay, dude.
Yeah, you got a cell phone. Nice flip phone, right?
You also have a submarine that you get to take from Shinra.
I hate it. That part still sucks.
I was able to destroy the enemy submarine in about 5 seconds. Yeah. It is cool going under Junon for the first time, taking the elevators down and another one down.
Yeah.
You do feel that to an extent, and that's fun. I do like that the submarine can get you to the crashed Gelnica, or Gelnica, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
That the sunken plane, which has a couple materia and treasure. But you go to the underwater reactor and take a huge materia there. Mm-hmm. You go next to Rocket Town, and Sid gets to fulfill his fantasy of going to outer space.
He does, along with 2 other party members.
You fly into space, save the materia. There's a code that will free the materia. Sid doesn't know. Sid's trying to help you guess the code, and he has the worst instructions to help you.
Yes, he does.
Sid honestly is a bad engineer every chance he gets.
Yeah.
How do these levers work to stop the train? Shit if I know. Somehow you stop it, but you're able to, get
dislodge that materia.
Dislodge it. You fly back to Earth.
And the rocket still hits Meteor, but it only fragments it a little. And it
kind of breaks up, but gets pulled back in.
Yeah, it still has like this electrical current running between it and its parts, which basically is telling you everything is still fucked.
You're pretty fucked.
Yeah. I think it looks cooler though.
This is great. I mean, it's a great sequence, and it's fun that you do actually go to outer space.
Yeah.
But if you did everything right, you got the 4 huge materia.
Yes.
Let's go to Bugenhagen's for a party. He's got a keg. Get a few Cosmo candles at the bar there.
Which character would you want to drink with most?
Which character would I want to drink with most? Depends on what I'm going for. If it's straight up what's up, I'm going with Tifa.
Okay. I would agree with that.
I think Sid would be the most fun. Barrett would be the kind of person you'd want to go drink with him, but he's that one friend of yours that just gets into trouble.
Yeah.
You can't bring that in. It's my arm.
I might say Cloud because it's like, hey, buddy, have a drink. He might just open up a little bit.
I'd want to go into like graveyards with Vincent with like a bottle of wine and just hear him be weird. Yeah.
Death, I know what death is.
Can you hear them screaming? Vincent, you're a weird motherfucker, man.
Show me your robot arm. That's a one.
It's a claw.
And you're just like,
Vincent, turn into the Frankenstein one. I'm not doing it again. Do it.
Now say me Frankenstein.
I'm not gonna do that. Do it. We could all agree, though, we don't want to party with Ketchi. I don't want to take acid with Ketchi.
Yuffie's a little too
Yuffie's too young. She's 16.
Give it a few years.
Yeah, and then she could maybe have a beer, and she would overdo it. She'd think she's being smooth, though, and try and steal your materia. It's like, dude, you've had too much. Yuffie, calm down.
I want a beer materia.
Yeah. What would it, like a refill materia?
Refill materia,
yeah.
Yes.
Refill 3, fills a whole pitcher.
Who had to die to make that materia? It's just you, me, Tom.
Yeah.
Josh.
What other? Yeah.
Our live stream materia is just alcohol.
There's a live stream inside our bodies. It's amber in color.
It's the color of our energy.
Hey.
311 quote.
You go to Bugenhagen's party, and I forgot that he actually tags along to the. You go back to the Forgotten Capital. I thought that was fun. Because I don't remember that too well.
I don't remember that at all.
And he was on the ship, and he's like, ho, 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 science is pretty neat. And then he just flies straight up to the second floor and flies over to the railing.
Yeah.
And that was my first time realizing that he can just fly anywhere in his little hoverball.
Yeah, he's got a really cool hoverball. He's the Charles Xavier of the...
And you... he is. He's the king of the mutants. You actually have to, though, go to get the key to the Forgotten Capital in a submarine kind of by Lucrezia's cave.
Oh my God, you're right.
I've always gotten that just on the way to go see Vincent's lady. But that's when you get a vision that Holy was actually summoned, the materia was activated.
Yeah. And now they have to put all their faith in it.
And they're about to do that before Diamond Weapon is heading to Midgar. And they've moved Sister Ray, they're calling it, the cannon from Junon.
That's a cool sequence.
Yeah, and it's going to be powered by all the 7 reactors remaining.
Well, it's crazy because Rufus has to make the decision to not fire the Sister Ray at Meteor, but fire it at the weapon instead.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome because there's this exchange of fire on each other. He does end up taking the weapon down.
Yep.
But the weapon shoots his energy into where essentially Rufus is.
And of course, if you've read the novella, the
or
Turks...
seen Advent Children.
I don't know if it's the Turks The Kids Are All Right, the Turk side story, or if it is... No, it is the On the Way to a Smile episode, Shinra, where there's a secret shaft that goes all the way down to the first floor that Rufus falls in.
Convenient.
And he's like, of course my dad would name it after me being a loser, because the password is like, Rufus sucks or something.
Yeah.
It's
Rufus is a disappointment as a son.
He's like, I knew
One
it.
of the Turks is just typing it in, and it's just like, really? Damn it.
Yeah.
No,
Rufy.
But the thing is, like, even if, like, they got annihilated, that was way too fast. There was no way.
I'm curious how they're going to show this too, where it's you and 2 party members, 3 humans looking up at a weapon, and you're fighting it.
Yeah.
And for the remake, it'll look a little different.
I imagine there's going to be more acrobatics, and almost like when you fight Sin in 10, there are parts of it you might be fighting.
Yeah.
Like
They'll figure out a way.
In some way,
or you're riding like a magical train in Kingdom Hearts that lets you get close to it.
A magical train. Yeah, you know what?
We'll do it.
I don't doubt Tetsuya anymore at this point.
I love the sequence of re-entering Midgar at this point when you parachute in.
Yeah, you feel like a bunch of commandos.
It can be fairly quick enough. There's not a ton you need to do there. You can take the side mission over to Shinra Tower. There's no reason to outright story-wise, but you can get Ketchi's weapon.
Yes, and I always try to get their ultimate weapons if I can.
You can fight the Turks for the last time. You fight Scarlet and Heidegger with Proud Claude. All of them are just shit. Hojo has lost it. He's gonna shoot it again. He's gonna keep going.
Yeah,
Hojo's great. He's a great villain.
I think he's more of a villain than Sephiroth in this game.
It's integral. Hojo is a great sub villain. I think he's better as like the one who's really doing all of the big things, but
he's the catalyst for most of this
Sephiroth's
nonsense.
the poster boy. If I'm having a wall scroll, it's going to be Sephiroth. It's not going to be Hojo.
He's the Emperor Palpatine to the Darth Vader.
Yep. Although I wouldn't bang Darth Vader. Sephiroth, what's up, dog? Give me a call on that PHS.
I mean, hey, man, PHS. And especially the fight with Hojo, like where he suddenly reveals that he's been taking the cells as well, and he's not handling it anymore.
Yeah, dude. Hojo just loses it.
He becomes just like pure body horror, like anyone else who has ever taken Genova's cells.
I brought Vincent along because he deserves his justice.
There's some good lines.
Not much. It's more like, Hojo, it was you.
Yeah.
And that was it, which it's cool that the less he says, maybe the more badass it seems, but also there's some opportunity for some talk there.
That will be explored more. I can only imagine.
Guarantee it. The fight with him was great. Of course, as you find out later, he turned his consciousness into digital signal, became part of the network, moved on to Weiss, who was a member of the Deep Ground.
Are we talking about Hojo, Dr. Hojo, or are we talking about Dr. Wily? Because
Dr. Wily?
Dr. Wily.
And after this, Cloud and the party, they're all in the high wind. There's a speech, and we need to figure out, everyone needs to go and spend a few days, figure out why they're fighting.
Yeah.
Sid has a really great moment where he talks about how small the planet is when he was up there and how he just wants to take care of it. And Ketchi calls Baird out for being a dick.
Fair enough.
And it's the only time
coming from him though.
That's the only time I was kind of, Ketchi's right. Baird, you are a dick.
And I think
Baird kind of realizes it too.
Well, but that's the arc afterwards as well. These are complicated characters. I think that's the one thing that this game achieved over all of the others is all the characters felt real. Like no matter like who they were, they felt tangible in that you were actually fulfilling something. Because if you go back even to 6, every character had a story arc, but it was a very shallow, kind of straightforward. This is the motivation. Mm-hmm. They would have lines of dialogue that would hint at other things, which is fantastic writing. Mm-hmm. But this was the first time where you got to see a lot of this stuff.
Character growth.
Yes, actual like legitimate character growth.
Cloud and Tifa bone.
Is that canon?
Well, they're on the edge of the crater, and she falls asleep in his arms, this is our last time.
Yeah.
And there's an original draft where they even had it animated where they come out of the Chocobo stable in the high wind together. Mm. It's like, yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. It's half implied in On the Way to a Smile.
And it's even implied, too, that they woke up together. They slept out there. I had a thought while this is going on, because in the background of that scene, the high wind is just floating there, They're environmental eco-terrorists, whatever. They're trying to save the planet. The High Wind at this point is still powered specifically only by live stream. Park it.
How do you?
Because it lands to let you out. I don't know. To me, it lands and stops flying at some points.
It gets down, but I don't think it actually lands.
It doesn't.
There's no landing gear.
It doesn't float the whole time.
We've never seen the landing gear.
Doesn't matter. Figure out a way for it to land. Save the live stream.
I've never seen it land. I'm just going to say.
Would you rather do the side quest or the Northern Crater first? Yeah.
Let's do the Northern Crater again.
Before you go in the crater, though, Bugenhagen, if you go back there, he's sick, and it seems like he dies. Nanaki comes down.
He force ghosts himself as far as I'm
Nanaki
concerned.
comes down. Everyone says, "What happened?" He's like, "Well, he was talking a lot about the end, and he seemed sick." And then he just flew away and said he'd see me later. He just floats off on his ball.
Bye.
Bye, Bugenhagen. Bye, Boogie.
It's perfect.
But you go into the Northern Crater. There's nothing. I mean, a lot of strong bosses. Some give you a lot of AP if you want to do that materia farming. You split up the party.
Oh boy, did I.
Oh, if you want to do some of the other stuff.
Well, usually I don't because there's no new game plus with this.
No.
So you're going to want to do all that stuff beforehand.
I did it once. Well, there's some that just give you bonkers AP, but you can go back out. Mm-hmm. I did that one time where I wanted to beat the weapons legit. And otherwise, I'm not going to waste my time doing that again. Because it is just at that...
I cheesed my way through.
You can cheese it, yeah.
So I just played 10 recently, and I hate to keep bringing it back to 10, but that Seymour fight on Mount Gagazet is the biggest horse shit I have ever... Almost one of the dumbest, most ludicrous boss fights I've ever faced. That is not optional, obviously. Back to the...
You fight Genova. For the last time.
Yes.
You fight Sephiroth, who is now a one-winged angel. Cut to the song.
Crazy ethereal being.
Twitter user at Jake Rock, Instagram user SS_cosmic_2, and Facebook fan Mark Nordwig all mentioned their favorite song from Final Fantasy VII being One Winged Angel. It's a good boss battle. Did you know that when you're fighting Genova, you use the Knights of the Round materia, Sephiroth has more HP?
Really?
I thought that was an interesting little take. There is regular Sephiroth, like Seraph Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Or Safer Sephiroth, as the poor translation would say.
I'm going to be honest with you, though. I did play 6 technically before 7. Mm-hmm. And the fight with Kefka is a little bit more interesting.
A little bit more epic.
It's a little bit more epic.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's sprite work.
With the stages.
That. Oh, yeah.
And the first one is like demon. Then the second one is man.
Dancing Mad. That song, Dancing Mad. Kefka's a fucking great villain. You beat this crazy... Well, you can even change out party members. It's the first time that you can like switch between two different parties, which is cool.
It's a good idea.
But
if you didn't...
I wouldn't mind if in the remake, if they did incorporate something similar to Final Fantasy X, where you can swap out party members, just say Barrett for Yuffie, and they could just like run out, do like a tag out.
I think they might.
I think that they almost need to. I think it would make the gameplay more fun, and you'd be able to... If you have, what's great about 10 is if you need to have someone who can break through armor, you can call in Oran. It makes the battles more dynamic and makes you appreciate party members in a better way.
Well, none of the characters are useless.
Because otherwise you're punished if you bring the wrong character. That's a fun way to like keep the battles moving.
Well, making none of the characters useless is the best thing you can do in any of these games. Because then people are going to pick the obvious cool ones. There's always one that someone introduces as like a pet project type thing.
Yeah.
Like Kate Shi. Yeah. But like make everyone useful. It's like a fighting game where you have to learn every character then. Mm-hmm. Because the impression that I got is that this is going to be a game that's kind of closer to Devil May Cry than anything. And I like a Devil May Cry RPG. That's the vibe I got.
Yeah.
So I think that making all the characters like playable and giving them different like things that they can do, like physical things they can do, not just select a menu option and then do it. Like if there's an action that they can do that nobody else can, obviously Barrett could use his gun arm, which gave you range. I think that would make this game stellar.
Yeah, which we're not going to learn too much about the other party members in the first one since there's only 4 playable ones. But that aside, I guess so Cloud falls into the live stream and goes down to fight the real Sephiroth, who's not wearing a shirt. Sephiroth, titties out.
Oh, he's still really smug despite the fact that he got beaten. He's like, I'll never die. And Cloud's like,
I've literally beaten everything you've thrown at me.
Oh, yeah? And then you get the Omni Slash.
Boom, 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 boom.
And it's just
boom.
a series of strikes. The one thing I can really say I liked about Advent Children is that climax with Sephiroth.
Looks great. That is a stunning sequence. And when they're fighting in the ruins of Midgar and it's all coming down, we'll get to that though.
Okay. Okay.
So you beat Sephiroth. Holy clashes with Meteor, and it winds up all of this starts destroying Midgar. Holy actually I was getting the vibe that it wasn't necessarily stopping it or the whole solution, and it might even be hurting as much as helping. The live stream, though, when the live stream rises up, that's ultimately what kind of assuages the whole situation.
It is mitigating a lot of the damage. It's creating a barrier. If Meteor is the most is like the ultimate offensive spell, then Holy has to be the ultimate defensive spell.
Yeah.
And that's the logic I had with it.
Yeah.
But she didn't get to truly finish her prayer. And I have a feeling that if she got to finish her prayer, that she would have actually been able to stop it completely. Yeah, Jesus.
Jesus would have showed up.
Yeah, Jesus would have showed up.
Motherfucker.
He would have called up all the dead. I mean, in a lot of ways, there are some weird parallels.
Shout out to Easter Sunday coming up.
Shout out to Easter Sunday, a day. I hope they're listening.
At Easter Sunday, we're big fans.
Big fans, love bunnies.
I do like the way this game ends. Twitter user at suikoden_2 says, I remember finishing the game and scratching my head thinking what the hell was happening with Cloud, and that I would clearly need to play through it again. It doesn't spell out what happens. You see the Highwind getting away, but you don't know what happens to any of the characters afterwards. There's no epilogue.
Well, you see the characters climbing out.
But you know the characters get out. You don't have a clear answer of what happens with humanity. And I love the 500 years later. There's no humans in the ending of the game.
Nope.
It's Nanaki and his children. There is some bullshit children laughing at the very end. But to me, I mean, maybe that's the children in the live stream. I don't know. But there's no humans necessarily alive 500 years from now.
I always took that as they moved away from Midgar. They adopted the land, or they let the land reclaim it.
Yeah.
And they lived somewhere else in peace with nature. That's literally how I took it. I didn't see it as mankind is dead and gone. I literally don't think that they would be.
Yeah.
I don't think that's possible, but I think that showing Midgar as this, it's not a state of ruin. Mm-hmm. It's not in a state of ruin anymore. It's literally just a place where plants grow now.
Yeah.
And it's like almost like a cliffside.
But if we had only known the deep ground soldiers underneath there. Today's episode has been brought to you first by Indeed Brewing in Milwaukee with their Hello Milwaukee, a delicious
light lager.
A delicious light lager. It's classic. It's drinkable. It's what you want. Next, we're moving on to what do you have here from Drecker?
I have the Tune Dip. It's a DDH dip hopped double IPA. That's almost a tongue twister.
That's a lot of syllables.
It's fantastic.
I like the can.
You know what? It kind of has the milkshake IPA kind of taste.
It would say maybe lactose on the top left of the label there. That'll have like any weird things added in if there was lactose or anything. Yeast.
It's fabulous.
So there's a few side quests in Final Fantasy VII. We're not going to talk about all of them. Wutai is a big notable one.
With the tower.
I like it.
It's a good one.
It's cool that Yuffie's running around. You have to kind of chase after her. You've lost your materia.
It's annoying.
I think it's a good challenge. It's almost kind of when Link goes to the small island southeast in Breath of the Wild where you lose a lot of your abilities. You have to relearn how to do some things.
Yeah.
You kind of remember how dependent you are on your materia. I will just call out Sid's epic line that he says to Don Corneo. This is why you always bring Sid in your party. You never know what he says. Maybe God would forgive an ugly fuck like you, but I won't. I don't know if it's fuck or cunt or whatever,
or
but
shit.
Maybe God would forgive an ugly blank like you, but I won't.
An ugly shit like you. That'd be funny, yeah. Oh my God.
Thank you, Sid. That's all that needs to be mentioned in Wutai. You can re-enter Midgar and see Aerith's ghost. Nobody cares. Lucrezia's cave. This is going to have a lot more in the remake.
Yes.
Otherwise, all that is there is you see a woman.
A little backstory.
She asks about Sephiroth, and Vincent says, Sephiroth's dead, don't worry. Because she said that she said she's never even got to hold her baby. What happened to him?
That's pretty tragic.
Vincent does, of course, get his final Limit Break form, Chaos, which will play a bigger role later.
Yeah.
Although Chaos was always inside of him.
Lord, he looks just so edgelordy.
Crash Jelnica, you go down there. There's a Zach Fair special cutscene. That's a whole game we'll get to.
Yeah.
Chocobo breeding. That's one of the biggest side quests.
If only to get the Knights of the Round.
That's the only reason you really do it. The music is fucking good. It's amazing to me that Chocobo theme has been almost the same since Final Fantasy II.
Which one's your favorite?
Samba de Chocobo, maybe?
Is that the 10 one?
I think that's the 8 one. Nobuo had it from the beginning.
Yeah.
He's done it good every time. It's monotonous. It's not great, but you can do
earworm.
it.
The
song is great. But
I don't think the song is fine up until a certain point, and then you turn the TV off and put on a podcast.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, with any of these games, video game music in general, if you're unaware, is basically made to be on repeat constantly. It's meant to be paired with the visuals and the gameplay, but it's not supposed to actually be something super distracting. I mean, people would be upset if you got on a Chocobo and that song didn't play.
Yeah. It's so good, it's distracting.
Yeah.
But you have to get a gold Chocobo, which involves breeding and bullshit and a lot of racing.
Yeah.
Chocobo racing might be super fun in the remake. We don't know. But
well, in this one, all you have to hold is 2 buttons.
You hold 2 buttons. It gives you pretty much unlimited everything except when you're racing after TO.
The first time I played the game,
I
didn't know about that cheat almost.
That sucks.
And I still got Knights of the Round.
Yeah, materia. You get some materia, which helps a lot of things out. You go to materia caves. The Ancient Forest, I think, is a terrible dungeon. I think that navigating it with the flies and the frogs is incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
And it's not worth... I mean, so there's some good stuff in there, but going through that I found very annoying.
These game creators, there's something in their heads. When you go from level to level, there is a philosophy where you say, let's change it up a little. And sometimes that would be like Mario is now underwater and the physics are a little bit different, but it's still technically like Mario, but you're floating up and down. It's basically balloon fight. Congratulations. Yeah. But you're still going left to right. With Final Fantasy, as I've been playing through most of them, what I've found is that you'll be doing all the battles, which is the core gameplay loop of the video game.
Yep.
And suddenly there will be a point where they're like, no, hold on, no. Sit down.
Yeah.
We're going to teach you something dumb that doesn't mean anything.
So this is the Thunder Plains. Now, there might be...
That's exactly what I was thinking. Now dodge it 200 times to get Lulu's ultimate weapon.
I know a certain spot where the lightning will consistently kind of do the similar things. Uh-huh. And it'll be like 7, and you get 7, and it lets you run all the way up, and it's 7.
I'm not doing it.
It's mostly consistent. Ultimate weapons in FF7 are stupid because they have 0 AP growth.
Clouds looks ridiculous.
They look good.
Some of them look fine. I mean, Tifa's is Tifa's, but it looks
Tifa
cool.
has got like just spikes on her fist.
That's cool.
Cool, fine.
What's it called? Something Heaven? Final Heaven?
God Hand is her weapon.
God Hand is Riku's weapon.
Khalidbolg is Tidus's.
Kaldabog.
Kaldabog.
It's a demon, I think.
No, I'm Scottish.
Okay. It's my microphone.
There's a dude in Calm who is carrying around Master Materia and has a gold chocobo he'll give you. I do appreciate that it's not explained, but why the fuck are you carrying around Master Materia, dude? Maybe he's from FF7's universe and he just came over there. Maybe it's a really old Waka. Let's just say it's Waka. He flew on a spaceship. Yeah, I got the Master Materia.
No, he would never use the anti-Yevon Machina.
You haven't played 10-2. You haven't played 10-2. But there's a dude who will do that. And then I guess the only other main big things is Emerald Weapon and Ruby Weapon. I beat them legit. It took a lot of time.
It takes a lot of grinding. A level of grinding that is almost obtuse. This is what Final Fantasy tends to do. They tend to pad things a little bit. And the padding, sometimes it's absolutely like, oh, this is so good. But sometimes you're just doing a chore.
Let's move on to extended lore. We're going to not spend a ton of time with all of it, but
I wouldn't.
Let's start with Before Crisis, a cell phone game released September 24th, 2004. It was active through April 1st, 2006.
Wow, what a great amount of time.
Yeah, well, I think it was 26 different episodes, something like that. This covers the Turks. You were playing as a Turk, and this is what happened leading up, like the 4 years before the main game.
Right.
And you are fighting this terrorist group, Avalanche. Not the one you know, but a more extreme version. Is a cell phone game. You know, the cell phone that Cloud uses in Advent Children, only playable on that same cell phone. So Cloud was probably playing Before Crisis while he was dealing with Kadash.
He's like, oh, so this is what happened.
It's like, oh, this sucks.
And it's turn-based, and it's a lot. It kind of looks like some of the older Final Fantasies, but with relatively decent, different sprite work.
I think, yeah. I mean, my biggest problem when people try and do something, prequel like this, is trying to just bring in every character for a moment here or there. You don't need to have a mission where Barrett shows up, a mission where Vincent shows up, a mission where Vincent shows up.
Well, that's how you sell.
If they were very on the periphery and it was mostly about, Elf, who she leads the terrorist organization. Turns out her father is Veld, the leader of the Turks, and she's got materia fragments embedded in her arm by, I don't know if it was Hojo or Fujito, who is the scientist of Avalanche, who creates his own soldier program that creates immortal soldiers, and Shears is her right-hand man.
So let's be clear. This is the worst kind of fan fiction.
It's bad. I think it could be fine. If they just focus on this main character of Elf or whatever, and this group going against the Turks, if they focus strictly on that, I think it's interesting that Rufus is funding them. I like the materia fragments. Materia being stored in a person, I think is something that...
I like Barrett's explanation of what Avalanche is, and he alludes to something before, right? Yeah. He alludes to the fact that they were wiped out. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need to know, is that he's taking up their cause.
That's all you need to know.
That's all you would want to know.
Right.
It shows you that Barrett is like live and die. And that gives him character motivation. That's called good writing.
Right.
Now, when you add all this extra shit that explains it in the past, this is like the Star Wars prequels, where it suddenly is just like, now let's go in depth as to how this happens. You can do prequels that are like character moments.
Yeah.
Or you can show, I don't know, let's say maybe the Turks stumble upon a weird secret, and maybe it becomes like a noir story. And it's just like maybe they stumble upon all this stuff, and maybe at the end they get killed because of it. That's interesting.
You know what would be great is if at the end the Turks did all die. Okay, whatever. Some new canon that is established. Nibelheim. Turns out the main character that you play as, a Turk agent, is there as well.
Sure. Whatever.
Rocket Town. It was Avalanche that fucked up the oxygen tank that caused.
That's
I'm just
horrible.
Saying. I'm just.
Know, but it's such a horrible.
This is officially canon. Barrett helped the Turks.
I mean, we'll see. There's going to be a new canon. This is the Disney. These are like if Disney remade Star Wars.
Essentially, though, there's 4 materia fragments. One is embedded in the main leader of Avalanche, Elf. She was experimented on by Hojo. It's the Zirconiade materia, and when the fragments are brought together, Zirconiade is the ultimate summon.
Shut the fuck up.
Fujito wants to summon Zirconiade to...
This makes me furious.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's good.
I know.
Zirconiade is summoned above Midgar. The Turks stop it, and this is something that no one talks about. And
how would the Turks stop it? How would the Turks stop an ultimate summon?
Well, they do. It seems like the Turks are all dead, and even not like the new ones introduced here. So Reno and Rude and all of the main ones we know from the game, they believe they're dead until Midgar is collapsing from from Holy at the end, and they're helping everyone escape. And then all of the Turks show up, said, "We're here to help." And they're like, they're still alive after a year of not seeing them.
So In the older Final Fantasies,
Yeah.
Especially 4, they had what's called sacrifice syndrome.
Okay.
When you're talking about deaths in Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
up until Aeris, you couldn't take them seriously.
Didn't
Because
4 have a lot of deaths?
Sid jumps off and is like a human bomb
Yeah.
of your ship. Palom and Palom, they become stone to stop a wall from crushing you.
So what are you getting at? The fact that there's so many that die back then, it didn't matter as much?
Well, this shows you what bad writing is.
Yeah.
Because when a character dies, they should stay dead. Now, I love 4.
If Chewbacca died in Rise of Skywalker, it would have been, fuck, that's awesome. I mean, it's not that awesome that he died or how he died, but I don't know. I want there to be consequences. And when you do make a choice like that,
keep it.
Don't tease me. Don't say, oh, Chewbacca's dead, and then Chewbacca's fine.
The same thing happens in comic books.
Yeah.
And when a character dies, you don't always take it seriously. There used to be set rules for this. Like Bucky used to be taboo. You could allude to Bucky dying as they're on a plane that held a bomb that was going to blow up most of New York, essentially. And Bucky blew up with the plane as he pushed Captain America off, and he got frozen.
Yeah.
That's originally what the story is,
Yeah.
and not like the movies or anything. And they used to say, you can't ever bring Bucky back. Now they did, but they did it in a really good way.
Yeah.
Now, if you can bring people back in the right way, it lends credibility. But if you do something like this, everyone's going to have a problem because it is not good and it's forced and it makes you go, ugh.
How funny is it then that in the original game, Ketchi sacrifices himself, immediately is brought back, and then they decide to kill Aeris. Does that undercut Aeris's death? Or does that make it more palpable? Because
it makes it more palpable.
Because you realize Ketchi is a dumb, stupid Moogie character.
Well, it illustrates what the difference between a real life and a fake life is.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
It shows you like, okay, these were robots.
Yeah.
And obviously the person who did it is kind of just self-aggrandizing. There is such thing. They were showing that there's such thing as real sacrifice and fake sacrifice.
What did you think of watching your playthrough of Crisis Core?
I think that's a lot of goofy fan fiction as well. I liked Angeal.
I think if you were to have actually played the game, you might have enjoyed it more because the gameplay for Crisis Core is solid.
It seems fun.
This is the best spin-off of...
No, I agree.
I would say.
And I thought a lot of it looked super interesting, and I thought the combat seemed pretty fun. I watched a friend's brother play it in high school for a little while. I'm like, oh, this looks great. Like back before the Switch existed.
Man,
I'm like,
talk about the killer app for the PSP. A Final Fantasy portable RPG. Because I don't remember I played Final Fantasy Tactics on there, maybe a Castlevania
War of the
game
Lions
as well.
was so good on that.
It was great. It was the updated version. Crisis Core, you play as Zack Fair. Turns out Sephiroth had two best friends.
Yeah.
One of them was a Japanese rock star named Gact, which isn't made up.
It's not.
This is a real thing. Gact was brought on to be like
Tetsuya Nomura-fied.
It was originally, he was just the ending for Dirge of Cerberus. And they liked his imagery so much that we have to make it into a character that has a big thing. So, Angeal, the original owner of the Buster Sword, and Genesis, they're injected with Genova. Well, their moms were injected with Genova cells, which before they were pregnant, which is different because Sephiroth, Lucrezia was pregnant and it was injected into her womb, which I guess made a difference. And there is Hollander, who is a second-rate Hojo.
Yes.
That's all he is.
Well, to be fair, they do characterize him as someone who's very jealous of Hojo. So it works into his character, which I will give them credit. It just kind of makes him more legitimate. I don't know.
I don't want to. I'm looking at the notes I took for this, and a lot of it is just making me want to vomit about how dumb it is.
It's super bad.
We brought it up briefly in one of the prior episodes where, all right, eventually you start growing one wings, Lazard, who is running the soldier program, is another child of President Shinra. He turns into an Angio clone. So eventually there's like an Angio zombie looking thing with one wing, which is your boss Lazard trying to help you. There are monsters with Angeal's face and Genesis clones everywhere. It goes off the deep end in a big way where eventually everyone you fight is just a misplaced clone to an extent.
Really, to me, it really takes away the significance of what Zack went through, because they do develop his character a bit in 7.
Yeah.
They give you like this snapshot of a very positive guy who literally just made friends with like a lower ranked soldier, and
he looks out for him.
Together.
He saves him. He's like, dude, we're gonna get through this together.
We'll get through it together.
We're friends, man.
And then he's like, listen, I'm gonna get you out of here. Like, this is my job. This is because in Crisis Core they talk a lot about honor.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about it means to protect your friends. Zack actually, like, his story arc truly does culminate in him doing all of these things. He does everything he's ever set out to do, but he sacrifices himself in the meantime. That's another situation where sacrifice actually means something.
Yeah.
And then what's really cool, one thing that really stuck with me, is that in Crisis Core when they recreate Zack's death.
Yeah, that was a great big sequence for that.
You can actually, like, within Cloud, see his like mind break. And this is where you can truly see, like, this is the kind of illustration that I wanted. This is the kind of story that you needed to see updated, because there's actual emotion on his face, and he's not just a polygon block going up at the sky, you know?
Right.
If he had said, no, Zack, I would have been like, ugh.
No.
It's bad writing.
There's one really cool part that happens in Crisis Core. While Zack is looking for timber to create a flower cart for Eris, he encounters a carpenter. The carpenter says he's making a bar, and Zack suggests you should name it Seventh Heaven. And the carpenter then says, I'm going to hire a young waitress with long legs and huge breasts for this place.
That's actually pretty good.
Canon,
baby. Oh.
Yeah, you're right. Oh,
like,
yeah.
Ooh, that's not bad.
You end up fighting Genesis in front of a statue.
Now, Genesis, canon now, that's the baby bitch.
That guy is obsessed with a play, Loveless, and he quotes it all the time. He just imagines himself being a character from Loveless.
Have you ever met someone who's so obsessed with, like, Star
I've known some
Wars?
theater kids. Genesis is a theater kid.
Now imagine those theater kids were so ultimately powerful.
Yeah.
That they could, like, slice a human in half.
Just talking about cats.
It's like I guess they really didn't have to pay the rent. And it's like, no, you don't have to.
Masamune sound effect.
It's funny because there are some really cool simulation things in Crisis Core that kind of give you, like, the, I don't know, fake outs.
Yeah.
Which they introduce a lot of stuff in that prequel. Why weren't they using a bunch of this in? Never mind. I'm being stupid for even asking those questions.
Crisis Core, I think, uses the assets from Final Fantasy VII, the main game, in a cool way. They expand upon some.
Yeah, but the simulations, like battle simulations.
That's gratuitous. That's a little much. Overall, the best video game spinoff, just because the gameplay is good.
I agree.
If anything.
No, I agree.
Then we have the main game. Up next is On the Way to a Smile. The worst title for a book I've ever heard or read.
Well,
this is
Japanese.
This is written by Kazushige Nojima, the guy who wrote the scenario for the game, wrote Advent Children. It's got episodes for the different characters, and they become kind of epilogue, spin-off tales after the game, and also interquels leading into Advent Children. There's episode Denzel, which I think it's nice because in the complete Blu-ray, this is an animated, like, pretty nice looking anime short story.
Yeah.
Where Denzel, he winds up losing his parents.
They were Shinra
because the pillar
scientists and
exploding.
workers, yep.
And he lives with Reeves' mom for a while. I love this sequence where
It's revealed later, though. There's a beauty to the storytelling. And I'm going to give him credit.
It's good.
Yeah. That first episode in that story was a page turner.
And it was the right one to choose to make into an animated one, because episode Nanaki would not have worked. That actually might not have been bad. I would have loved to have seen Episode Barrett. Well,
There
just
was Episode Barrett.
Episode Barrett was just him. Am I a monster? Shoot.
Well, you mean in like movie format, right?
In animated form. They're all fine, but
Denzel, like
when he sees, because you don't know it's Reeves' mom at first, you find out later, but when he sees this woman who's been caring for him, when the live stream explodes into her house and he sees her be killed by it. Fucking horror. That's a horror movie.
Yeah.
And that's what's really happening at the end of the game. I love what they do with some of the expanded, the novellas I think are maybe the best because they're expanding upon what really happened after the pillar explodes, after Holy, the human aspect of it, and just on a more human level, the periphery of the main character. Just seeing someone deal with Cloud for multiple sentences and the kids are all right makes it more interesting.
And I think especially in On the Way to a Smile, like when you change medium in that way, there is your perception of a character, especially when you play as them, you insert so much of yourself into it. But I was surprised to find that in On the Way to a Smile, how these characterizations transformed in my mind. And they're not going to go away from that. I thought it was actually very well written. I don't know about you.
I thought all of it, I cared about almost all of it. And it was exploring the characters and what they would have done after their arc was done. You know, Yuffie, she goes back to Wutai. She expects to be a hero, and they're just, we don't know what you've been up to, but shit's really bad here. So can you not try and make it seem like you're important right now?
Yeah. And that would have been right on for her character. Everyone felt
Nanaki goes wild and just
Gilligan.
All right, we'll go to Gilligan. Nanaki leaves Cosmo Kane, says, I'm going on a journey, and he's immediately haunted by an inner demon. It's an inner ghost thing called Gilligan.
Well, it's what all of us would call intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, he's haunted. We all have
intrusive thoughts.
We all have
something
those.
that pops into your head.
He starts raising 2 bear cubs.
Yes, he does.
Super cute.
That seems choice.
He's it's, I don't know. It's kind of about the animal that's inside of us, that animal versus human nature that you need to reconcile yourself with to move forward.
Well, and it makes sense for him to go through this.
There's a really nice subtlety where he doesn't understand why Elena from the Turk shows up to kill the cubs, and he's fucking pissed.
Yeah.
You find out in the future book, The Kids Are All Right, that the cure for geostomia they're working on requires part of the cubs. And you don't realize that until I'm like, ooh, this is some really nice little subtleties you're working on here, Nojima. But it's lost because no one reads it.
At the same time, there's a part of me that's like, would there really be bears in a universe where there are monsters that are part motorcycle?
There would be maybe motorcycle bears.
Motorcycle bears, I could believe.
I mean, but there's still some animals. But I thought that was a nice subtlety that he gets so angry that why would you be killing this nature? But they're using these cubs. And it even says like enough from just a couple of these animals can create a lot of cures. So we need to do this. And then he goes north to Vincent and explains Gilligan, and Vincent thinks, yeah, that's a pretty stupid name, dude. Why would you name it Gilligan? And also, I'm immortal, so quit complaining about your long life, bitch.
He's like, I'm still dealing with my shit.
I have a lot worse things going on. Just wait till Dirge of Cerberus happens, okay?
He's like, just wait, it's coming.
Episode Yuffie, she asks for all the materia after the battle, and Cloud goes, well, you can have the restorative materia. Take that to Wutai, that'll help.
Smart.
Yuffie gets quarantined because everyone's dying over there. Because they call it the Midgar disease.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all that happens with her that's important. Episode Tifa. Okay, I like this. So
episode Tifa is probably my second favorite after Denzel.
Immediately after the battle, it says Vincent just takes off unceremoniously, just walks away. Barrett, Cloud, and Tifa went to Coral and then Nibelheim before going back to see Marlene.
Weird.
Okay. So they go to Midgard to help build Edge because they don't want Marlene to get sick around all the people in Calm. Barrett finds a bottle of liquor and he makes cocktails. Perfect. I want to see scenes of our characters just relaxing and drinking.
Can you picture him trying to open up the bottle though? He's just like he's got it underneath his armpit.
Nope,
and he's just like
depends on what they're drinking.
Future bottling processes. Who's know?
He recounts a story where he got so drunk he fell down a well. Shut your mouth and just get me out of here.
Was this shortly after the destruction of Coral? That would make a ton of sense.
Oh, that would have been sad then.
I mean, I hate to say it, but like what other time? Because before the destruction of Coral and Dine and all that stuff, he was pretty upstanding, and he was like, none of his language was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this would have taken place after, maybe where he was trying to like get his bearings again. Maybe he got too drunk and he had to figure out what he was doing, and he was trying to take care of Marlene. And I mean, there have to be wells in Midgar, right?
Barrett Wallace, while they're drinking these cocktails, says, everyone's got their problems, only difference being how they deal with it, right? But there's one thing that brings everyone together. Booze.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Barrett.
Cheers.
Cheers.
There we go.
Yay.
Perfect.
And
Wise.
that's when they decide to open up Seventh Heaven again. They have a cocktail they call the Corellian Gangbuster.
Based off of
It's a Star Wars reference, I believe, right?
Sure.
Cloud is put in charge of ingredients, even though he couldn't tell a carrot from a Gysol green, it says. Barrett leaves, and Cloud grows distant. Barrett's got a good short story, too.
Barrett's is good. It really shows his regret, and maybe that after the intensity of it, he had to stop and take an actual look at what was going on.
He looked in the mirror one day, and he looked at the fact that he had a gun arm, and he said, wait a second, am I a monster?
I just had a thought. Brad, do you think they're going to make Advent Children playable in the remake?
I mean, it'd have to be... That's DLC for the last game.
Yeah. They're going to recreate it, but they're going to make it better.
All they'd have to do is just like a couple of battles. I don't know. I was even thinking, do they make Dirge of Cerberus into a DLC?
No.
They could. There's not a terrible... there's not an unmanageable...
If they make Vincent's play mode good...
It's not an unmanageable story to make cool. There's enough there if you just whittle it down to the core components and expand in the right way. You can make it work.
I think they're going to try to keep it simple.
Barrett is feeling like a monster, so he goes to the guy that made his gun arm and asks for a prosthetic hands. And the guy says, it'll take a while. So he goes to visit Sid. Shara has the geostigma. Barrett says to Sid, if you keep talking like that, God's going to take an issue with you. I'm like, that's the pot calling the kettle black if I ever heard that.
I don't know. He did save the world. Let's give him a little respect.
But so Barrett is second guessing a lot about himself. He even suggests to Sid to use a little Mako on his new airship because Sid hasn't figured it out yet. And to me, that's very odd that Barrett has come around. It's like, just use a little bit. Okay.
If it's for a good purpose.
But that's how it all starts.
But at the same time, he's like a proponent of coal at this point. Which is so weird considering like they live in this like pseudo future thing. You don't think they could like harvest an energy from monsters who generate energy, or like if these are like fiends that are destroying the world. I know some of them that can produce like energy beams out of nowhere.
Okay.
You know, like especially like the jellyfish ones that produce like electricity.
Yeah.
They don't seem to think all that much.
I know a lot of PETA folks wouldn't be happy for me to say this, but we can raise cattle. And cattle have souls that can be fed to the life stream. And in Dirge of Cerberus, they establish you can create an artificial life stream. I'm not saying we should do that with cattle, but plants. Plants have life stream energy.
Oh, God.
We're getting out
This
there.
might be the Dylan experience.
All right.
No.
But the ultimate point of Barrett's story is that he decides to keep his gun arm and that he prefers to be a monster. All right. So we have episode Shinra is the last one on the way to a smile.
The most boring.
Sung is alive. Rufus survives. This is mostly filling plot holes, I felt, to an extent. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate the power vacuum that is portrayed, where there are different groups trying to establish control of Edge.
A little too realistic for a Final Fantasy game, but yes.
And a few things happen, this and that. Rufus gets kidnapped, moved around here, moved around there. A few scientists are trying to get their hands on Genova cells for some reason. Rufus decides a monument needs to get made, blah, blah, blah. And that's mostly just...
Which you actually see in Advent Children.
Yeah, you see the monument there. That's where that comes
the
from.
Town square where Bahamut attacks.
And then you get to The Kids Are All Right, a Turk side story. This is its own novella. It's about, spoiler, Evan Townshend, who is the illegitimate offspring of President Shinra. He doesn't know that. This is a fun detective story. It's about a group of detectives, actually, that are working in Edge, mostly as a scam, but they wind up in a real scenario where they have to discover who this person is. Turns out he is President Shinra's son. Rufus is curious about him. Bi-curious about him. Some interesting things that happened, besides the main characters. We're not going to get too far into any of them. He runs into Don Corneo, and that is a fantastic scene where he has to go get some gasoline from him, and Cloud sends sends him to Corneo to threaten him. This is also, I think, kind of important for describing how Kadaj, Yaz, and Yazoo, which I feel stupid for saying those syllables together.
Those are really bad.
Kyrie, the main character's friend, they wind up outside of a hospital in Junon, and she sees her childhood friend Kadaj, who she thought died in a fire. So it's only interesting to note that Kadaj, Laz, and Yazoo, who are the main villains of, we'll just call them the Remnants from now on, from Advent Children.
Yeah.
These weren't pure manifestations just from the live stream. They were real people that died and then became remnants of Sephiroth.
And they got silver hair
and they cried a lot.
Oh, dude, they're extremely emotional to a point of like not comedy, but the way they express themselves is almost theatrical.
Yeah.
It's funny because their emotions are so raw, you can tell they're not actually people.
And they're not raw dogs. Well, we know Kadaj is the main one. Laz is the long-haired one.
But he's got like the cool fist weapons.
Yazoo is the short-haired one with the fist weapons. I think. Don't quote me.
Oh, okay, whatever.
The Kids Are Right is a good novella. It explains how Nibelheim, his mother, the main character's mother, is the one that is one of them sent to Nibelheim to repopulate it and pretend that everything's fine. You get to see the Icicle Inn set on fire by the remnants. And you see that it leads directly up to Advent Children, which is cool. Advent Children. This was one of the first things that came out after the game, and it takes place 2 years after the main game.
Yep.
The movie is bad. The action sequences are good.
The basic plot that they were going for isn't awful. It was the choices they made in between.
And it's poorly explained. If they had explained...
Listen, if I had known anything about Denzel, if I had known what this was, if they had given me episode Denzel... in the movie...
As the opening. You learn who this character is.
That would have been perfect. And then the scene with Cloud.
And you don't have to explain anything other than you see this kid at Sector 7 and his parents, we got to go now. Something's going down.
Or then an old woman taking care of him. Like kind of a montage.
Yeah.
That would have been okay.
And then you lead in with most of that. And then you introduce Cloud at the end of the first act. And... it's already sounding so much better. I just got chills at how good that would have been.
You would have, when you saw Denzel and people mentioned his name, it would have had weight.
Instead of, I don't care who's this kid. It is, this person was profoundly affected by everything.
And then maybe you see a scene where Cloud picks him up and takes him back to like the orphanage.
Because, that's something they added to the complete version of Advent Children, which important. We need to know that he found him outside of the church.
Yeah.
He's just some kid lost. We need to know where Cloud's state of mind was, that he was sleeping at the church and
he was trying to find redemption anywhere he could.
That's the important stuff.
Appropriate for a church. This is also where they're keeping all of the materia, by the way.
Yeah.
If you do recall that. Why, though? Were they planning on putting it back into the live stream? Whatever. It's fine.
I think also if the remnants would have been explained better.
Yes, the fact that they existed and nobody said, oh, these are like fragments of Sephiroth that found their way into corpses and made them alive
Sephiroth's
again.
will was refusing to be absorbed by the live stream.
Right, even as Cloud, like if they had explained Cloud's like Omni-Slash, like separated Sephiroth's soul or something crazy like that.
There was a way I think there's a decent story hidden in there. I think Nojima writes good scenarios, but they're not portrayed correctly, perhaps. It's one thing where someone needs to write, someone writes the story and then someone writes the script.
Yeah, someone has to storyboard it. That's the way I'll put it.
You bring in someone that like a filmmaker or something.
Yeah.
Instead of we learn from the spirits within, you can't just have someone that made CG animatics for a video game.
They thought it would be good at the time. That did look really good.
You know what a stupid opening to the movie is? It opens on the end of the game and then it says 298 years earlier or 498 years earlier, whatever.
498.
Yeah.
Which is kind of all right.
But don't add that confusion to people that haven't played the game.
Now listen, I watched this with maybe my first quote unquote. We fooled around as like kids. I was 15 years old when I first saw this. It was the Japanese cut with awful translation.
Yeah.
Someone lent it to me at high school, like my first year of high school, and I'm like, check this shit out. And I forced her to watch it, and she's like, what is this? What the fuck is this? And I'm like, it's only the coolest thing you've ever seen in your life.
I was working at a movie theater at the time, and there's a small town theater, and so I convinced them to let me put the DVD on the big screen. So me and my friends had an empty movie theater to watch it, and everyone was, wow,
that's a thing.
That's cool, Brad.
And then you're just like,
can we?
Brava, bravissimo.
And yes, so the story is a lot of just wonkiness that doesn't make sense.
It's a very straightforward story.
The complete version explains it better, but
it's a lot better.
The moment that Cloud is at the Forgotten Capital and Vincent shows up and they're fighting and jumping around the trees, looks great. I like that the way it looks.
Where was Vincent's cool flying cape technique where he turns into like a shadow cape? Super cool. I love that shit.
My favorite sequence of all is when Bahamut is summoned by Kadaj, which the materia is not a red materia that he uses, which pisses me off, but
which is supposed to be the summon, yeah.
It should be a red materia, but the sequence where all the party shows up and they fight Bahamut around that statue.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean,
awesome.
I wish
except for like the I'll propel you up scene.
It's a shame though that Reeve has destroyed Moogie at this point through sex acts, and Ketchy is no longer able to ride it.
Dude, I have friends who own fleshlights, and what they told me is this: after a while, it just gets too loose. You can't use it anymore.
Moogie's just like in the corners,
a deflated balloon,
a deflated Moogie. Everybody,
a deflated Moogie.
But that sequence where they're fighting Bahamut, and even it's
Bahamut looks cool as fuck in this.
Looks great, and
this is right off the heels of 10.
Where, I love the design on 10.
Bahamut,
the little 10, circular floaty thing in the back,
which generates like sun energy. That's essentially the thought, right?
Very cool.
Very awesome. Very cool.
And even as silly as it is that they're all throwing Cloud up higher, I like it.
There's something beautiful about it.
There's something cool about it. And then even Eris.
And then Eris,
she's like, she goes, dilly dally, shilly shally.
Yeah.
And she throws him up. Yeah. Oh, this movie is only watchable in the Japanese original language.
Mina Savari does a great job. No, that's a lie.
Rachel Lee Cook does a great job as Tifa. I actually met her once when I was working at an art center.
Oh, yeah?
And I wanted to bring up that I was like, you were great as Tifa, but I couldn't even bring myself to do that.
I don't think she was bad as it. I think the script she was given was...
I think these actors who were never played a game and they were just like walked into a room and said, say these lines.
Who's Tifa? Who's Rufus? Who's Reno?
Yeah. The chase scene in the complete version is fantastic. They added on a lot of that motorcycle stuff.
Oh, cool.
And even the Turks and the helicopters bring in some stuff around.
Well, they wanted Advent Children, from what I understand, to be kind of a greatest hits, but revisited. They wanted to show you what this game might have been.
Sephiroth ultimately does come back because Kadaj is reunited with Genova.
Yes.
And Cloud Omni-slashes the bastard for a third time. Beats him for a third time. Omni-slashes him for the second time.
So one of the great things I'll say about this movie is something they still do in a lot of their games is that they have angles that cannot be produced with an actual camera.
Yeah.
And so
when Cloud is running up Shinra Tower... looks great. And then he puts his sword. He puts both of his swords there. And then he like jumps off of them and runs up. Okay, physics don't make sense there, but looks great.
And like the shifts and like there are like recognizable parts of Shinra Tower.
Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah. And I love how they take that established lore and they plan it. Eris resurrects Cloud after he gets shot by Laz and Yazoo.
Yeah.
The kids are cured. Red 13 says, there are more kids that need to be cured, Cloud. Tifa gives Cloud the I'm gonna fuck you face. And I put the ending as Cloud finds his smile.
Cloud smiles on the way to his smile.
Yep.
That's the name of the track.
Cloud finds his smile with his family around him.
Oh, he found his family.
But this has all been leading up to the real story, Dirge of Cerberus. What's most important to note is that the story was crafted around the fact that they wanted to make a third-person shooter.
Yep. No,
it wasn't because we have a story.
They wanted to make a first-person shooter.
Well, they wanted to make a shooter.
They wanted to make a Final Fantasy shooter.
Do we have a story we need to tell? Nah. Like, what character do you want to play around with?
Vincent has guns.
Do we do Irvin? Do we do Barrett? We'll do Vincent.
Irvin would be actually pretty good.
That could be cool. Like maybe making it like a bounty hunter type thing.
Like right after 8, where it's just like, I mean, all of time was in chaos after 8. Never mind. We'll get into this later. I have a feeling this Final Fantasy episode is going to be the longest episode we've ever done.
This is going to go a little longer, but Dirge of Cerberus. Okay.
Please don't.
Omega weapon is the 7th weapon, the ultimate weapon, and it is summoned when there's no hope left for the planet, and that's when it gathers all of the life stream and shoots it into outer space. This is the core idea of what's going on here. Chaos is the harbinger of Omega weapon, and they found the chaos materia. I'm using that term loosely. Lucrezia and Grimoire Valentine. Grimoire, Vincent's father, died protecting her from it, and Lucrezia continued to study it. When Vincent was shot by Hojo for macking on Lucrezia and trying to stop him, Hojo took the chaos materia, put it into Vincent. So Vincent has the harbinger of the last weapon living inside of him.
Yes.
So chaos is a part of the planet. It's not just the fact that Vincent can turn into a demon. This is an aspect of the life stream. All right. Wonky gameplay.
Starts out in calm.
You know, and I don't mind a lot of how they expand on the cities, or you're even under like Nibelheim sewers. Sure, whatever. That's fine. The new characters they introduce are some real garbage characters. They
Azul?
Okay. The Sviets, we have Weiss the Immaculate. He's the main baddie. There's Nero the Sable, who was born with the power to manipulate darkness. There's Rosso the Crimson, Azul the Cerulean, and Shulk the Transparent. Now, what I do like is that these are 4 overly stylized villains with color schemes. This feels Metal Gear Solid to me.
They thought they could do it.
Extravagant, silly villains with melodramatic dialogue. If the gameplay was solid, this same story could function as a Metal Gear Solid game.
Well, if the villains were even clever as to what they were, yes.
You know, I think they were trying to go for it, though.
Trying isn't the same as being anywhere close to doing.
I don't think Metal Gear Solid succeeds all the time either, though.
As a package, it does. Unless you're talking about... Now, hold on. Now are we getting into 2 or 3? Because I think the first one is
I'm talking about
playable.
all of them.
Okay, well...
Lucrezia decides she wants to bang Hojo for some reason.
Yeah, what's up with that? I've never understood that. Is it because she felt guilty about Grimoire, so she runs to the arms of Hojo? That's literally the explanation, and it makes no fucking sense. In my opinion, when I first played the game, I had assumed that Hojo basically like raped her. And that is not
the case though.
Or not even raped her, like artificially inseminated her without her consent, which is rape, in my opinion, too.
Hojo bangs, though, I think.
I think young Hojo fucks. I think Hojo at the time of Lucrezia, though, I think
before he got obsessed with science, he was probably all right.
I think he's too far gone.
Okay, at one point, Hojo was an innocent kid. There was an instance in Hojo's life which made him go bonkers. And maybe he started just, as soon as he got around science, started putting cells in himself. Maybe he was corrupted early on, but... Deep Ground, okay, the President Shinra has his own secret army. He establishes this before the main game because once Rufus has the Turks working for him, he wants his own private thing.
Yeah.
Reactor Zero, underneath Midgar, huge secret. The Deep Ground soldiers, they're still down there, underneath there, during the main game, during Advent Children. And then the World Regenesis Organization. All right, shit. They activate a network which reopens the Deep Ground, and Vincent is called upon by the great Ketchi, a cat robot, and Reeve says, we need to stop them. Yuffie shows up. Of course. I'm trying to make sense of this shit.
I know. I've seen a playthrough of this as well.
Oh,
I played through a quarter of it myself.
It's not unplayable. It's not great, but it was fun. It was playable. I mean, as far as bad games I've beaten, it wasn't the worst.
Do you remember in Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Adventure 2, the Tails,
I didn't play
Eggman segments?
I didn't play a lot of the Sonic Adventure games.
To me, it kind of felt like that.
It wasn't good.
No.
Hojo, at the end of FF7, this is established that he actually moved his consciousness into
shows his corpse on a computer, and then you assume that he was dead.
That consciousness takes over Weiss the Immaculate. Yeah. Vincent stops Hojo, stops Weiss, and then Omega Weapon is summoned, and he defeats Omega Weapon.
Looks a little like Alexander, actually.
It kind of does, but Vincent ultimately saves the entire planet there.
You know, is there any way for me to describe to you through audio, the audience, how much I could probably fall asleep right now? Like, this is a really bad bedtime story. Now, when we talk about fan fiction, let's relate this to Star Wars.
Okay.
The original trilogy, everyone loves it. The prequels, a bunch of horseshit too, right?
Before Crisis.
Like Before Crisis, even Crisis Core to a certain extent, story-wise.
Crisis Core looks good, plays fine.
Fine.
Not necessary. Prequels.
Video games are video games.
Yep. Sequels.
Now, sequels, it feels like Dirge of Cerberus is just fucking the sequel trilogy of Star Wars. It literally has all the earmarks of it. Oh, but secretly there was something else going on behind the scenes. Oh, and now there's a bad man who's just as powerful, but the weapon that they summon is way bigger.
Hojo's still alive.
And he's still alive. Essentially, Dirge of Cerberus is episodes 7, 8, and 9.
They pull a dead villain out of the
Yes.
ground because they have nothing else they can do.
Retcon.
You know, and even Advent Children you could throw in there into the sequel trilogy because they pull a villain that was already dead.
That felt more appropriate because if you do it as a 2-hour experience, it's fucking different. Advent Children was masturbatory, if I'm going to describe it in any given way.
Yeah.
That's fine. You can have that type of shit. I mean, I don't fucking know. It's why people delve into like the comics or anything in Star Wars. But something like this, it's just a little, the writers got too egotistical and it feels shoehorned.
And they didn't know what they were doing.
No, they didn't. Clearly, someone was like, now what if there was this character?
And someone said, it doesn't matter. It's going to sell. Just do it.
It's got Vincent in it, man. Everyone's favorite side character.
Can you give him another gun?
Dude, yeah.
Give him another gun.
Give him a gun.
Give him a sniper rifle.
Hold on. When he transforms, can he just turn into like a demon? And then everyone cheers for him? Yeah. I watched a playthrough of this, and it's like a split screen, and they're like, go, Vincent. And I'm like, oh, boy. And now...
I wanted to love this game. I wanted it to be good.
Everyone did.
Yep.
Everyone did. Now, this is the literal definition of jumping the shark. Not literal, because there's no actual shark. But
this is jumping the shark.
I mean, Azul kind of looks like a shark. Whatever.
He turns into a strange big demon at the end, but it goes off the deep end in such a huge way. And besides all of this, at the end, Vincent finds his smile again.
Everyone's got to find
But there's a secret ending if you've done all of the side bullshit.
where Genesis
where
shows
you
up.
haven't seen this character before. This came out before Crisis Core. Some dude with a red jacket shows up during the secret ending, takes his brother's body, who is Weiss, and says there's still much they need to do, and then they fly off with his one wing.
Never to be seen again.
Never to be explained or seen again. Terrible secret ending. That is the last canonical aspect of the Final Fantasy VII universe.
I mean,
You're allergic to bullshit.
I'm truly allergic to bullshit. I literally thought about it for a second and I had to sneeze. It's like I just walked outside in the morning and I had to stare at the sun with my eyes open. This is where you milk something so much that its udders are so dry, they're literal strings that you can dangle. It's so gross.
Things that have been released that are outside of the canon.
Okay.
That are established as not being canon.
Roll with it.
Dirge of Cerberus, Lost Episode, a cell phone game that is considered outside of canon. Last Order, a 25-minute animated video.
That was actually good and it still fits within the canon.
It fits within the canon enough, but
Of the original 7.
In this, Sephiroth jumps off rather than Cloud throwing him in. That's why it doesn't fit in the canon.
He kind of... Have you watched it?
I've seen all of it. I've seen all of these things.
Okay, so he kind of half jumps off, but he doesn't.
There's also The Maiden Who Travels the Planet. I think this was released in an Ultimania where it's just Eris traveling the live stream running into people that have died.
Yeah.
Mostly interesting, but not canon because it's just not good.
Well, it's so silly.
And that brings us to the mailbag. Instagram user Strength in Cat wrote, I was 6 years old when I first beat the game. My dad would sit me in...
6?
Well, I was 6 with, I guess.
Oh, okay.
My dad would sit me in his lap, and I would read the dialogue as he played. I knew not to say the bad words and replace them with nicer ones. I curse like a sailor now, though. I don't think he knew he created a lifelong gamer by doing that.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense to me.
I've heard of people learning how to read through RPGs before. That's cool.
That's essentially how I learned to read.
It's a necessity for a kid who needs to know how to understand menus.
Yep.
I'm going to learn how to do this so I can do it.
Yeah. And I think there's something else to it. What a great bonding experience. I never had a family member who was super into playing just even like a game that might seem tedious to most, which would just be like an RPG in general. Mm-hmm. Just the fact that your dad sat down with you and was like, let's just do this. That's beautiful. Allie, actually, my girlfriend, also co-host of Better in 3D. She played this game with like her family and like her siblings, and they would each voice a different character. And I found that to be really beautiful. Actually, it made me wish I had that experience, but I'm an only child, so whatever.
Facebook fan Troy England recalls faking being sick for days to stay at home from school to play nonstop.
I'm curious how old he was.
37. I don't know.
That's how old he is now.
Top fan on Facebook, Bryant Arndt says, I remember not being able to walk 2 feet without getting into a random battle. Really broke the flow of the game, how often it was.
I really don't know. I don't remember it being that bad.
Me neither. I know that we actually in America have less random battles than in Japan.
Yeah,
too.
I know, yeah.
Instagram user Zemnis is #1 asks,
oh boy,
will the spin-off games and Advent Children get remade as well?
No.
Maybe as DLC?
No.
Possibly.
I don't think so.
In response to the question, where would you want to vacation if you could go anywhere in the world in FF7, Facebook fans AJ Schwokert, if I'm saying that right, and Brian Ward both say the Honeybee Inn.
Okay.
Brian says in particular he'd go to the fuck room.
Okay, that's fine. Brian, you filthy bastard. Everyone loves you, but you're filthy. I would probably say, I mean, the obvious one is Costa del Sol.
Wutai would be fun.
I went to Mexico a couple years back, and I mean, I got super high on like mushrooms and shit, but I had such a good time. Like cervezas at the beach, baby.
Yeah.
Like just fucking getting out there. Even Hojo gets
down on that hard.
Oh, fuck yeah. And he was just like suntanning those.
Still wearing his lab
nipples.
coat. Still wearing a lab coat.
But it's a part of me is just like, that's the obvious choice. Nibelheim is actually kind of tranquil.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like, it always reminded me of kind of like the Northwoods of Wisconsin.
I would take like a ghost reality show to the Shinra Mansion in Nibelheim.
Oh,
that's good, right? We are in the safe room where Lost Number is rumored to have been haunting here. There's a coffin in the basement. We're opening it. Oh shit, oh shit.
I can hear you. I hear that they used to perform experiments on human beings in here. Can you all answer for that?
Here is clearly a tank where they must have kept some spiky-haired cunt.
The EMF is going crazy.
The PHS is going off the charts.
The PHS. That's perfect. That's brilliant.
Top fan on Facebook, Jared Mills writes in saying, Cloud is a legendary badass sad boy.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Agreed. Facebook fan Dan Ojeda or Ojeda, I don't know. He writes in saying, Sid's theme is one of the best tracks that Nobuo ever wrote. Listening to that as Sid comes to the realization that he will never achieve his dream of making it to the moon, amazing.
Yeah, it's a good scene.
In response to the question of who they would want to party with, Facebook fan Mark Nordwig said he would party with Sid and that he bets he would have some great stories to tell.
Do you think so, though?
No, I don't. I think Sid has he has one big regret and a lot of anger that he would want to vent about.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be an angry guy. Like, if you played, like, beer pong with him, I think he'd be a blast.
He'd be fun. Yeah, I wouldn't want to talk about personal shit, but he'd be fun to rage with.
No. Like, if he wanted to forget, you would let him forget.
We would forget together.
Yes.
Instagram user _Siam said if he could party with anyone, it would be Tifa. We agree. He also said Lulu, but we're not talking about 10.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm more of a Yuna guy. We all know this.
Yeah. Instagram user cosplayer _from _Midger wrote, Tifa was and still is my favorite video game heroine of all time.
Fair enough.
I admire her so much And her dedication to her friends, especially Cloud, was so touching to me. I only ever picked Aerith over her once, and that was by accident when I first played FF7 back in the day. I've chosen her over Aerith ever since that playthrough. LOL. Me as well.
She's really good. I am still an Aerith guy.
You are.
Yeah.
I will be this time around just because there's no consequences because she won't die in the remake part 1.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not even sure there would be any choices to make. But as far as most things go, yeah, I can see Tifa's appeal, especially as a heroine later in the game. I think these characters are going to be more fleshed out. A lot of the times they made these games around the idea that teenage boys were playing them. So I'm excited to see her fleshed out in a lot of ways.
I'm excited to see her fleshed too.
Yeah, sure.
Instagram user Amirayan 2071 wrote, I remembered crying, 9-year-old me, I remember crying when I was 9 years old when Eris was killed. I even gave her my name. I was hoping she would be resurrected, but oh well.
Oh, that's so sweet. Do you remember when you used to name characters after people
after your friends and crushes and stuff?
Yeah.
Yep. And
I know several.
The best is the rival in Pokemon. You'd name him like the dude you hated the most.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Buttface.
Yeah, pretty much. Which hand in hand. But I know a bunch of people who named Eris after their crush.
Oh yeah. Everybody.
I didn't. I kept Eris.
Yeah.
But
because Eris was your crush.
Well, yeah. But Cloud was just Dylan the first time. Yeah. I was. This is my character.
I used to always follow the naming conventions. The problem for me was when there'd be a game that didn't give you one. I had to come up with a name because I didn't want to use my own name and I wanted a cool name. Facebook fan Tom from Milwaukee.
Oh boy.
He writes, Ketchi is a cry from an overworked development team.
That might be right.
Facebook fan Josh from Milwaukee.
Oh boy.
Writes, what does a chocobo taste like?
A chocobo?
Can you imagine fried chocobo? There'd be some huge fucking chicken wings.
Now listen. A chocobo?
Chocobo wings, dude. Oh.
I mean, that's the biggest wing you've ever seen.
That sounds amazing.
They're basically ostriches.
Oh, I want it.
Yeah, but they're a lot of dark meat. I would imagine that it's very juicy. And also veiny because they've got such powerful legs.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I thought of is because they're kind of like workhorses. I imagine they taste a little bit like horse. Have you ever had horse, Brad?
I don't know. Maybe.
Now, as a man who's eaten a zebra.
I've eaten a kangaroo.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Yeah.
It's hyper muscular, almost gamey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what it would be like. And I think I would really regret it because I think if I were in the Final Fantasy universe, I'd be the person just raising the chocobo. So
yeah, man, if chocobos were real, we would have some chocobo farms where we would raise them with respect and grace and have the best chicken wings in town.
Yeah, this brings up a lot of hypotheticals. Let's not get into it.
And lastly, Facebook fan and Dylan's girlfriend. Allison writes in, she remembers finally getting Don Corneo to pick Cloud as the most beautiful girl. Never will she forget that glorious bathtub scene. That scene made 0 sense then, and it will make 0 sense now. But our Uber Eats order of Chocobo wings has just arrived. This is the end of the episode here.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening in to this part 3. If you are listening to this as a Patreon user months ahead of everyone else, we appreciate you so much. If you're getting this later on, you could get these episodes earlier. You could support us on Patreon and get exclusive access to a lot of awesome video content. That's on patreon.com.
Mm-hmm.
Where else can they find us, Dylan?
You can find us on Twitter at HotDogCast and Instagram
and Facebook. Hair of the dog.
And you can pray real hard. And
you can summon us with black materia.
Pretty much black materia.
You'll find us where all solid chocobo is sold.
Yeah.
Amber is the color of our energy.
Yeah. Well, and if now listen, we don't need to advertise on these Patreon episodes. They know where we are.
Well, no, we don't have to do the Patreon. But if you are here from Patreon, we fucking love you. We appreciate you. And if you're listening to this months afterward, get on your shit. If you do subscribe to Patreon, we'll give you 1 order of Chocobo wings for free. That is canon. We've been Raw Dogs. We're a part of Hair the Dogcast. You can find us on the Greenlit Podcast Network. You can go to greenlitpodcast.com to find out some of the other amazing shows that we have there. I personally feel that this is one of the most important video games ever made.
Yes.
It solidified Sony as a major player. The PlayStation's viability was completely solidified by Final Fantasy VII.
And they brought JRPGs a thing.
And they brought publishers over and made JRPGs a very big thing in America.
Which even, it went through to the PlayStation 2 era. PlayStation 2 is a safe haven for JRPGs in the West.
Yeah.
And it's all because of this game. There's literally no other way you could actually trace that back without thinking about Final Fantasy VII.
This was an absolutely groundbreaking video game for its time. The Final Fantasy series is, at least it used to be, I think it still is something incredibly special and something that...
There's pedigree.
There's a pedigree to it. And this is one of my top 5 video games probably of all time.
Really?
I don't know. As far as what it meant to me and having an effect on me and creating who I am today, I put a lot of time into this game. Yeah. And it means so much to me. And part of it's...
I'm with you.
I mean, part of it's Nobuo Uematsu. Part of it is pure nostalgia. Shout outs to,
escape.
Randy Redapenning, Tommy DeFay, Ryan DeFay.
Final Fantasy is how I made a bunch of great friends.
Yeah. And it's how you made friends with your fiance.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. That's absolutely true.
Thank you, Sakaguchi. Thank you, Nomura. Thank you, Katase. Thank you, Nojima.
Hey. You know what? If I ever get the chance to meet you guys, I'm not going to freak out. I'm just going to shake your hands. Maybe a tear will roll down my face, but I'm...
Because you'll be thinking about Ketchi's death.
Yeah, I'm going to actually... I will probably be the idiot who says, was that emotional for you?
Thanks so much for checking us out. We've been Raw Dogs. Kupo, Moogle, Kupo, Chocobo, Moogie. Peace out.
Peace.
Bye. We love you.